Hello and welcome to this month's edition of What's Cooking Rutland. I'm Bethany Yon. I'm a nutritionist at the Vermont Department of Health and part of Rutland's Nutrition Coalition that brings you this show each month. And it's November, the year is flying by, temperatures have finally changed, hooray, though for those of you who like warm weather, sorry, I'm happy it's cool again. But it is time to start thinking about all of those family gatherings and feasting at later this month, Thanksgiving. So we are going to be playing with vegetables today, and because these winter Thanksgiving vegetables are hard to cut and peel, I have somebody who knows what they're doing with me. So Dick Moore, who is a knife sharpener, you may have seen Dick at the farmer's market. He is here. We're going to talk about knives.
That's one of the things.
That's one of the things. So choosing a knife, sharpening a knife, handling a knife, it's all kind of sort of going to happen in the midst of this show, where we play with a variety of 3 different recipes that feature some sort of winter veggie that may have its own challenge for cutting. We don't have all of them. We were talking earlier about, acorn squash, really, I struggle to cut them, but we're not going to play with acorn today. Instead, we're going to start out with thinking about your Thanksgiving meal, so some side dishes for that. So instead of just straight up mashed potatoes, mashed turnips and potatoes. And instead of sweet potato casserole covered in marshmallows, sorry folks, we're doing a savory roasted sweet potato.
Excellent.
And then a new twist on an apple crisp because it's a butternut squash apple crisp. So butternut squash, also something that can be hard to cut. So we're gonna play with that. So we're gonna start with our mashed potatoes and turnips and potatoes. We already peeled potatoes because that's kind of sort of a no-brainer. Let's peel these turnips and then we'll figure out where we go to next with a knife.
It'll be super.
So we're gonna kind of have dueling vegetables here with what we're doing. So we're gonna peel turnip and we're gonna use an actual peeler to do this as opposed to a knife. And it's good to have a sturdy one. You've brought one from home.
I have one from home. Hopefully it's sturdy.
Hopefully it's sturdy. And I have a couple from home as well. So I also have this finger version that some of you have seen me work with before that, you sometimes get a little bit more control over what you're doing. As I say that, I'm probably going to make a ridiculous mess. So I don't know. Are you peeling towards yourself or away from yourself?
I'm going to be going over here.
Let's just peel here and then we'll move our scraps into the sink afterwards. Yeah. We need everybody to see our mess.
Certainly when you cut it, you want to be stable. You want the material that you're going to be cutting as stable as it can be so that you aren't going to have the knife slipping all over the place.
Okay.
I'm sort of looking at this as a big fat carrot.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm just basically, but I'm coming down toward my thumb, which is probably the wrong way to do it. I know when I'm working with a knife, I want to get my thumb out of the way.
Yeah. You don't want to be cutting towards yourself at all.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to get rid of my little...
But he's kind of, this is kind of a mess. And I don't know that I can show myself to be highly professional at peeling turnips.
Peeling turnips.
Because, to be very honest with you, I have a wonderful false potato salad with turnip being the hard substance and then using some other elements.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, so I think
You've done a great job.
I think I'm about ready to do something with it.
Okay, because with this we're just going to, we're peeling them and we're going to dice them, and we've already peeled potatoes, we're going to dice potatoes as well. So talk to me, what you just automatically went to a knife. What kind of knife is that?
That is a chef's knife.
Okay.
And typically it's one of the 3 knives that you want in your...
All right.
That's a smaller chef knife.
But it is a chef knife, so we can kind of see them side by side.
That shape also gives you the ability to rock as well as to go through and do a plunge cut.
Okay. Plunge cut. What was that? That was like new words for me.
This is basically what I'm doing here is I'm trying to go through and get this cut up. We're just creating pieces, right? But I now have a stable block to work with.
Okay.
And I can cut this up. Okay. At this point, I can go through and cut this up. What I'm doing here is I'm using a crab and I'm putting my the knife blade against my finger, and I have my thumb way out in the back, okay? And I'm pushing. Hopefully we're able to cut everything like that with a straight, okay?
All right, and I'm looking at how your hand hold on the knife. So
yeah, I'm gonna
thumb on one side, so you're not doing, we were talking earlier, you're not doing this fist on the handle of the knife. And is that the right word? Or do we call it a handle?
I'm holding the blade here, right.
The blade between your fingers. Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm just going through here, and I'm doing about quarter, maybe 3/8 inch. Okay. I get part of the way down, and I go around to the other side because that keeps me more stable. Okay. And this last cut is going to be hard.
Oh, yeah.
But I made it. Okay. So at this point, are we going to put this in the pot?
Once the water comes to a boil, yes, so we can keep chopping vegetables.
I take each one of my cuts with just one push. Okay.
And I'm trying to mimic it over here, and I'm glad you're not looking at me, guys. It's kind of sort of amusing.
Just a straight push. And this guy I'm going to go through because I have a large surface here. I'm going to make that into, okay? And then I'm going to come through here, again, keeping my thumb out of the way. I'm going to go through here. And
isn't he amazing? Look at him. He's just like going to town there, cutting these turnips. Are fabulous. Okay. So I'm almost caught up, and I'm doing more of that rocking cut. And I always said that
whatever works, as
whatever
long as
feels comfortable, and fingers are curled under to be away from the blade. So we'll kind of slide these aside. Go ahead.
What you're trying to avoid is you don't want to end up going through in
a sawing motion. Okay.
You know, if you can do it with one stroke, then you're under control. Where you're drawing it back, it's even more risky. Okay.
So we're going to do the same with a potato. So you're going ahead and not worrying. It's kind of sort of a flat, solid surface.
So
but
I'm going to go through.
I'm
going to go through and give myself a good flat surface, about the thickness of the dice that I want.
Okay.
Okay. So I can go through here, and.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. So at this point, then I can go through here.
And that's where you have a longer blade than I do. So I'm going to cut my potato in half.
This is an 8-inch knife. Now there are other. You have a chef's knife, but it's a little bit shorter.
Yeah. It's a lot shorter.
And this is a little bit unstable here, so I'm going to get my fingers out of the way.
Okay.
Okay. Because stability is more important than effectiveness. I have just made that up. Okay. So I can go through here with the standard dicing. You dice it because you don't want to have half or quarter potatoes. They don't soften as quickly.
Right. So with these potatoes, once we get the potatoes, so it's this potato turnip mixture that's going to go into this recipe. And then once they boil up, and we'll get back to them in like 10 or 15 minutes. Then it's just going to add a little bit of sour cream or buttermilk. I've actually brought some buttermilk and seasonings, mashed them all up. And it becomes really a nice, it's a different version. And I didn't bring a blender or a, hand mixer, because if you want something really whipped and airy, then take a hand mixer to it, and that's going to make it whipped and airy. But the point here is that we're mixing turnips together with potatoes. So we're working with the chef knife, which is like the standard knife to work with. What are the other knives that I should have in my kitchen at home?
Well, you have my other 2 knives over there. You should really have 3 basic knives.
Okay.
Okay, I want the little red guy here.
All right.
And I want him.
Okay.
And this is the knife that is probably the most useful if you're trying to take chicken off the bone, etc., or do some little filleting where you're more delicate, but you have control. This is your 6-inch utility knife.
Okay, so we have a chef's knife that I'm working with right now, and that's called a utility knife.
And this is a utility knife, and this will be for more delicate motions.
Okay.
I mean, I can still do it, but it's not going to be you know, as easy, and it'll take a little bit more effort.
You don't have as much control, right? Because it's smaller, is that what it is?
You have more control.
More
and
control.
You're going to be doing things like going through and boning chicken.
Okay.
Like going through and you know, paring, but then again, the third knife is the paring knife. Okay. Now all three of these knives I have sharpened at 15 degrees. The standard American Western knife used to be 20 degrees.
Okay.
I don't know
we've
if you
got
can
some pictures that we can show here.
I don't know if you can see these, but essentially when you sharpen a knife at 20 degrees, you end up with 20 on one side and 20 on the other, which means you have a 40-degree angle. If you go down to 15 degrees, and the Japanese knives have really gotten us to use the 15 degrees. This is 15, and 15 gives you a 30 degrees. So you're getting what would it be? A third of the blade width. So you have smaller amount of the metal going through the blade, through the material. Most of your machines, most of your, you know, are now, the new machines are being set up at 15 degrees. In either case, I sharpen my knives that way at 15 degrees. So I am now set up with a little bit of peel here, which I will push to one side.
So we're moving these vegetables into some water. I had too much water in here and we have a lot of vegetables. So we're gonna add that to boil.
Okay.
Good. And so we're going to let these boil for about 10-ish minutes and see how they're doing and then finish them off. So next, as we're finishing that, we're going to move to our sweet potatoes. So instead of sweet potatoes with marshmallows, it's savory sweet potatoes. So it's going to be similar. We're going to peel and cut the sweet potatoes similar to what we did. And I think talk about sharpening knives a little bit. And then these are going to get tossed with some Italian seasoning, olive oil, salt, and pepper, and then they get roasted. So I've got a pan that's already, you know, covered with foil so that things just become a really super easy cleanup. So when you're cooking for masses at the holiday, easy cleanup is important. So yeah, we're just going to peel our sweet potatoes, nothing fancy here. So again, we have another vegetable, so we're going to practice here, and I don't know, maybe I'll be brave and daring. So I'm going to...
So here again, I'm coming through with my knife, and it's difficult, right?
And yeah, it is.
So I am going to go through
cutting.
here. I'm going to get... Okay. And this is a 15 degrees. This is a sharp knife.
I'm going to cut mine in half first because I feel like I need a smaller surface. That is looking really kind of scary for me. So I'm cut mine in half so I have a flat surface to then go down through with my smaller knife.
But it is stable now. And I'm going to take one piece off each side to maintain that flat stability. I'll be able to work with him fairly easily. Okay. And really, you know, prep is not too difficult. I enjoy getting to, you know, being able to chop up and dice.
So, how often do you sharpen your knives at home? I mean, I know it probably has to do with how often you use them, blah, 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 but is there like any general guidance, or how do I know
well, the first thing you have
when my knives need to be sharpened?
Well, I guess the first thing you need to know is your knife dull?
And how do I know that?
Well, it may...
Besides that, I just assume it is because it's hard to work with.
Because it's harder to work with. And therefore, what you can do is, instead of going out and paying that greedy knife sharpener at the co-op or wherever he is, you can strop this. You can actually take your knife, have wet newspaper, which is good, or a very smooth piece of wood, and what you're looking at doing is running the back of your blade against, you're not trying to cut into it, but you strop it, and that will actually then give you more life, because what's happened when you've sharpened your knife, you end up with a very, very clear vertex, but it gets lazy. So all you're doing is the sharpness is still there. You just need to put it together.
So say that again.
wet newspaper
And where's the wet newspaper? Like on my arm?
on the flat.
On the flat, okay. And I'm just going
so what
to...
you're doing is you're basically going through, if this was wet newspaper here, you're bringing your blade right across.
Okay.
And you're basically polishing that blade and putting it back into its proper alignment.
Okay.
That should last you probably, if you're a casual cook, at least, no more than sharpen once a year, twice a year.
Oh, wow, okay.
You don't need to sharpen all the time. You should, though, if you can strop. That will give you more life out of your more enjoyment out of your tool. And that can be used for other tools as well.
Okay, so I'm just going to interrupt for a second and make note that we've got the WIC code up there on the screen. So if you or someone you know is participating in the WIC program and getting ready to think about Thanksgiving, watching this show, call your local office with that code on the screen. Tell them one new knife tip perhaps that you learned today, and that's going to keep food benefits going for the next quarter. So it's a really nice thing, really fun thing that we get to do with this show, is to offer that up. So, okay, I am going to get a bowl because we're going to toss those the sweet potatoes into a bowl, and I'll slide it over there so that we can toss it with some seasonings. And perhaps while I'm seasoning these with a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning and getting them into the oven. So newspaper to kind of bring a knife back to life.
Yeah.
But then you were showing me earlier.
I use leather. A leather belt like the old barber used to use as well.
I didn't know that.
Barbers use a strop, which is a long piece of leather, and on the back is a piece of canvas.
Aha.
So after you've sharpened your blade, then you end up polishing it with, with what's called stropping.
Thank you.
Okay, without stopping.
That's great. That's great. But the other thing that you've shown me, and I would love to have you show everybody, is, again, let's talk about the hardness of a blade and how you could actually do another sharpening at home.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you do that while I toss some oil and salt and pepper and Italian seasoning in the sweet potatoes.
There is a scale of hardness called the Rockwell scale, and it starts at 0. Bone is 30 degrees, or is 30 on the scale. These metal knives are around 60. Ceramic, when you can get those ceramic knives at the grocery store, is 95, and diamond is 100. But 95 compared to 60 says that this is harder than this, which means that I can take particularly a serrated knife, and if I remember correctly, this was a knife that was presented to me today by my good friend over here. I go to the back of a coffee cup, and notice on the back of the coffee cup you have a section that's not glazed, and that is ceramic. And you basically go through, just gently going through and taking the back of the blade, not the front of the blade. You're not sharpening it. You're taking the burr off the back of that serrated knife, okay? And all of a sudden, Bethany has a knife that was not sharp when she walked in the door, and she's going to walk out with a very, very, very sharp knife, probably as sharp as, if not more sharp than the knife was when it was first bought.
And I am so grateful for that, because it was in tough shape.
So, but I've also taken a couple of her other knives, and you can do that as well.
My paring knife, which was just really in bad shape.
A good piece of glazed pottery will have the back of it, and will have good ceramic, and that ceramic is harder than the steel. If it's harder than the steel, the fight is won by the ceramic.
Awesome. So I'm just going to show, I've seasoned up these sweet potatoes with some salt, pepper, olive oil. You can see the little speckles, some Italian seasoning. And I'm going to throw these into the oven for about 10 minutes and then give them a stir, and then they'll go in for another 10 minutes. And I'm just turning that down.
Okay.
And I'll check these in a moment. But so, okay, cool. So that I love this ceramic idea. This is great.
Yeah, and again, you're not trying to run your blade into the ceramic, you're trying to run it back over. You are basically polishing it as opposed to cutting into it.
Cutting into it.
Okay.
So now we're going to move on to my most favorite vegetable not to cut, and that would be butternut squash, because we have this butternut squash apple crisp. And so there we have a little one, and sometimes I don't know if having a small one is easier to work with or a big one. I know I'm going to move this pot that's like getting ready to go boiling over forward and check it out.
You tell me that I can go and I can just use my peeler.
Yeah, we're gonna peel it first. So I have like YouTubed a bazillion versions on how to prepare a butternut squash. And so some of my chef dietitian folks say, you know, peel it, exactly what Dick is doing. Just these long peels down either end of it, and then trim off the ends, and then cut off the neck and go from there. But this is a hard thing to do. But here, having a good peeler is really, really helpful to be able to dig into that.
And what I'm doing here is, again, I'm cutting away from me. I can assure you that blade is sharp enough to cut me badly.
Yeah, yes, and
So,
which you don't want to
I don't want
to
that
do.
to happen to me. I can go around the back of it, top of it.
And these
I
still
will
need a
just
few
leave
minutes.
him. Looks a little clumsy, but I've been there before.
It looks great.
Well, it basically is, and this is slippery.
Yeah, they are. They're hard to work with. So what we're going to do is slice up that butternut squash, and at the same time, while I've given Dick the really hard job here, I'm going to take the easy job and prepare just some of the filling that's going to, so we're going to take butternut squash and apples and mix it together with a little bit of lemon juice so that things don't turn brown, and then also toss it with a little brown sugar and cornstarch. The cornstarch is going to help to thicken stuff up. So I'm just going to mix some of those ingredients together. I brought some Granny Smith apples so they'll be nice and tart to contrast to that butternut squash. And yeah, we're gonna play. So I just need squash.
Okay, I really haven't done the end of that. I may just
you've done great.
I may just sort of toss the end. At which point then, I'm going to take my knife and push it through if I can. Again, keep my hand away from the blade, and I can rock cut. Okay, so I have solid here.
Yep.
Let me just take this little piece
Take the
off.
ends off.
Okay. Okay, so again, this is a good piece. What am I doing with this? I'm going to come through here and work down through the middle. Okay.
So having a large blade is probably helpful to do that, so you have a lot of leverage.
Okay, I don't have a seed pod in there.
Yep, the seed pod's in there.
Okay.
So when we cut that in half, that's where the seeds are going to be.
Okay.
Whoops! Flying squash.
Okay. Haha. So, here we go.
There we go. I'll scoop out seeds.
Okay.
Again, I'm letting you do the heavy lifting here.
I will. I'm not doing it. I was told that I would be in a slavery mode when I came here.
I'm going to let you do the heavy lifting here, but I'm going to pull out the seeds here. If you've got kids at home and you want to roast these seeds, that's a fun project to do. But then we're actually just going to slice this. So it's actually, we're not going to do any cubing. So I think this is going to be a nice way to work on, practice and demonstrate that. What did you call that hold? The crab hold?
Well, I mean, this is basically
Because we're just going to slice this
How
thing.
thick do you want it?
Not much more than a quarter, relatively thin, because relatively thin. So
Okay.
quarter of an inch or less.
Okay, here I can go through, I'm going through solid material, but I'm going through, starting it off at the thin side, and then I can just push my knife down in. Again, you'll notice where my thumb is. Hopefully my thumb is out of the picture, okay?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. Okay, so where would you like this?
Those slices are going to get tossed into this bowl because we're going to mix. I'm preparing. I've got some brown sugar here.
Are you going to layer it?
They're going to get tossed, so it really doesn't matter how they go in there. About a tablespoon of cornstarch, and then some cinnamon. This is a half tablespoon measure, so I'm going to do 2 of these. And that's just going to help to thicken everything up. A heaping teaspoon of cinnamon.
Okay.
I'm going to stir this together, and then we're going to add, just going to use a fork. And I'm going to toss this in the bowl. You'll add more squash, and I'm going to go ahead and cut an apple. So I'm going to use my newly sharpened knife. I'm really excited. So I'm going to kind of grip that apple to try and get to a flat surface. So just those big cuts. So now I have a nice flat surface that I can turn it over to slice. And then this piece is cut off those ends. And just do some thin slices here. This knife is really nice. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. What a difference it makes to have a sharp knife. So we're going to add these apples. Just 1 apple with that 1 squash. And then I have a feeling that our potatoes and turnips are just about ready to mash. So what will happen once we get these into a pan is they're going to bake for about, we're not going to have time to bake it all off here. They would bake for about 20-ish minutes or so until things are soft. And then from there, then an oat topping goes on top, and then it bakes for another 20 minutes. I'm going to drain these veggies. Hopefully they are mashable. Give this a toss. Throw it into a pan. So I've greased a pan, and so I'm gonna throw this into this pan.
Okay. You have a little bit more squash if you need it. Okay.
Yep, go ahead and throw it in. We're gonna stir it up. So this apple squash mixture would then bake for about 25 minutes in a hot-ish oven, 375 or so. And then once it comes out, an oat topping goes on top. You'll have the recipe, and it goes back into the oven for another 25 minutes. And when it comes out, like magic, it is going to look like this. So super, super yummy. And you can see how that cornstarch has helped all of the juices that came out of the butternut squash and apples really hold together. So we'll be diving into this in a moment. But this would go into the ovens. We don't have a potato masher, so we are going to get creative and use a whisk. You could use a fork, but this would actually work fine. To this, we will add a little garlic powder, salt, pepper, and some buttermilk, and that's going to make a nice creamy that you're going to see. But our half hour is up. So Dick, thank you.
I've enjoyed it.
It has been a pleasure, and I'm really excited to go home with sharp knives, thank you, and have learned how to do that between a newspaper to bring that sharpness back and a ceramic mug.
You're doing it like this. You don't want to go like that.
Okay, like this.
You want to basically just polish it.
Okay, so I have a lot to work on. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope that some of these dishes make it to your table. And next up will be, holiday baking in December.